All right, good morning, Bioclear All-Stars. This is an update. This is mission critical stuff we're teaching you today. It's going to be new for a lot of you. All right, the doctors who are taking the classes are expecting you to be the experts, so here you go. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the push-pull instrument. We have some doctors that have trouble with BioFit getting tight contacts all the time. Some of you have never really used the push-pull to get tight contacts. You seem to be doing great. But the average dentist is going to struggle with BioFit HD with getting tight contacts, and it has to be 100% of the time. So at Roseman Dental School, at Loma Linda, we're telling them, and in the outline, the new injection molding outline that we're going to be using at every course, those illustrations have the push-pull spot weld technique in there. And so the way that we like to refer to it in sequence is spot weld push pull, because you put the spot welds on before you do the push pull. So it's important that the lexicon all matches. So it is the spot weld push pull technique. And when you teach it, you don't teach about the push pull until you've done the spot weld, because what's going to happen is they're going to be thinking that with the push pull instrument, they're going to be grabbing the push pull instrument, and then like they think, okay, now do I do the spot weld? So it is the spot weld push-pull technique. All right, Daly, so let's go ahead and slide some matrices in. So a couple of things that we want to remind everybody to do when they're assembling their matrix, and my preference now is to use the 6.5 millimeter matrix on all exercises, because these dentiforms have a bottomless sulcus and sometimes the margin doesn't look as pretty. So I'm using 6.5 now on both the mesial and distal of the model. We're going to be modifying the model just a little bit to create a wider, more sort of relevant cavity preparation than the original one, so you'll have a little bit more room to injection mold. Let's put the matrix on the distal. So we want to rotate the matrix slightly because the matrix is so curvaceous, and drop it down, and then remind them that they need to take the tab and push down as hard as they can. Really hard is not enough. You say as hard as you can. And the way we test that is look from the side, and that tab needs to be bent over. If it's not bent over, then they didn't put enough pressure on. Okay, let me have another matrix for the mesial. Now I know in the courses that we're not going to be assembling the mesial and distal together, but we're going to be doing it for demonstration purposes for all of our instructors. All right, so the same thing on the mesial. The matrix is very curvy. We've got to expand it over the tooth, like so, and then rotate it into place. So you have to take the matrix, let it expand over the tooth like that, and then drop it in. And then once again, how hard do we push? Not real hard as you can. Your fingers should be blanching. So I'm pushing down as hard as I can, and you've got to make that face, all right? Now, we're going to look from the side and see the tabs are bent over. All right, so let me go ahead and have a large diamond wedge. Even though the embrasure space could technically handle an extra large wedge, the extra large wedge is so big that it's a little more challenging to put the separator over it, so we just stick with the large diamond wedge. And typically it's nice to remind them to do this in a clinically relevant way, and bring the diamond wedge in at 45 degrees, rotate the cotton pliers around so the flat end is coming up, and then give the wedge a push. And let's go ahead and do the distal also. So once again, rotate this when you're demonstrating the wedge application. You have to put your finger on the matrix and hold it against the tab. And then I always ask the students in the class, what would happen if we didn't hold the tab down? And the two answers that you want are the matrix would slide up and the matrix would rotate to the facial. There'll be somebody in the class that doesn't hold the matrix down or hold it enough. And so you just got to remind them. Bioclear is a miraculous assembly of 20 simple things all in a row. But it's the assembly of those 20 things done in the correct way each time that creates the magic of Bioclear. All right, so our matrices are in place. And so one of the other things that I've done is on all of the models, I've gone in and optimized the contacts. The contacts were those goofy point contacts that we polish away at the Learning Center. Well, I've gone in on every dentiform and optimized the neighboring tooth, both on the mesial of the second molar and the distal of the second bicuspid. I've optimized that contact. So you're going to have the ability to push and pull the matrix over, and the contacts are going to be a lot nicer now, because the natural deniform contacts were, like from the learning center, they were too high, they were point contacts, and they got in the way. So I'm going to do this without the separator to demonstrate it, and then I'll probably do it again with the separator. I just want you to see with unencumbered vision what's going on with the spot weld technique. So let's do the distal first. And if I was doing this clinically, I'd love to do the distal first and only put the separator on the distal and then do the mesial separately for a better contact. So let's go ahead and go through the sequence. I'm going to massage the Scotch Bond Universal for 20 seconds into the dentin tubules. Happy birthday to you. So, do you have a curing light? Good. So happy birthday to you. And then before we light cure, we're going to do the spot weld. And this is the lexicon that we all need to use. You're going to take some adhesive and wet the two corners of the matrix. Some of the people are going to do it here because this is not a 3D image. You need to make sure it's over on the corner. Otherwise, they're going to block their injection molding. So then we're going to air thin, but not light cure. Now, invariably, somebody in the class, you'll hear a light cure beeping, and you say, stop! Who told you to light cure? Okay, so we're going to air thin, but not light cure. So now we do the spot weld technique, and it's important to go through this lexicon twice. We're going to put the bulk fill flowable, and it's nice to always mention the product name. It's great for 3M because they want that brand recognition, and also keeps the doctors from being confused. So we want to use the Filtech bulk fill flow, the green, on the corners. And the composite, the flowable, goes outside, over, and inside the matrix at the corner. I want about a 1 millimeter button there. That's on the corner, okay? That's far away from the actual injection molding area. Then I want to do one more button, outside, over, and inside the matrix. Now this is completely foreign to most people, right? So you've got to say those words, outside, over, and then inside the matrix. And then comes the push-pull instrument. We're going to take the push-pull instrument, and then I'm going to demonstrate some of the neat things that happen with the push-pull. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and cure this because I don't want it to set up on us. So what I'm going to do is we're going to insert the push-pull instrument in the distal. You're going to notice that the hands of the push-pull instrument collapse together. This is auto adapting. So we only need one instrument to do the job of 4. This one instrument will do the job of 4 contact forming instruments. The last thing you've got to know is that this has to be parallel to the shape of the neighboring tooth. So in this particular case, if you lift the handle too high, you're going to invert the matrix. Do you see that? So if the handle is too high, this way, you're going to invert the matrix. So you've got to rotate the handle up and down according to the tooth. It's going to be different on the mesial. So let's go ahead and do the push-pull instrument. They've got to stabilize this, and then they have to have a light cure buddy. Do not let them do this. Never light cure on your own. You need a wingman or a wingwoman. So what we want to do is we want to lift this to the appropriate height, which would be about right there, brace it, and then push down pretty darn hard, and on the distal it's a push. Now go ahead and light cure, please. So they have to have a buddy for this. Do not let them do this by themselves because they'll get an open contact. Make them follow the rules so they can be successful. Okay, stop. The push-pull instrument comes out, and then we have to cure the interproximal separately because the instrument was blocking some of the light. And it's a full 10 seconds and stop. Okay, so what have we done? We've pushed the matrix over and we've expanded it buccolingually, and we've actually put a little bit of tension in the matrix. I'm getting incredibly tight contacts. I use the push-pull every single time. And the contacts are better, broader, and stronger. And so that's why we put it in the outline. And even if you are a rock star and you can do this without the push-pull instrument, keep that secret safe in your own privacy of your own home, okay? We don't want anybody doing this without the push-pull instrument. All right, so now we're ready to injection mold. And like I said, normally we would have a separator on, but I wanted to keep that out of the way. So I'll put a separator on for the distal, and we'll go through that. So you take a look here, what have you got? You've got flowable that's over outside and inside the matrix. So that is pretty much welded in place. Now what's going to happen for some of your doctors, especially if the composite is, and sometimes we'll use this with cold flowable, if the flowable is too thin, they didn't get enough on there, you'll notice that my spot weld on the buckle is not very good. So if the spot weld comes loose on the buckle, super easy. All we're going to do, and my spot weld for some reason is kind of scant on the buckle, we'll go ahead and redo the spot weld and just spot weld the spot weld. So let's go ahead and do that. So I don't need any adhesive. I'll just take a little bit of Bioclear Flow. We'll put it on top of the corner and just do one more little addition there. No big deal. And then let's do the push-pull. And let's re-cure that. Cure. And that's good, because that's good. We don't need a full light cure on that because we're going to do that. We're going to finish curing that when we do the rest of the restoration. Now, Daly actually bumped into the spot weld here. And she did that on purpose, right, Daly? Mm-hmm. So she bumped the spot weld, and it's kind of halfway loose. So what are we going to do? We're going to spot weld the spot weld of the spot weld. No problem. So let's do it again. So we're going to put the little flowable outside, over, and inside the matrix, just like that. You know, it acts like a little curve. There's nothing wrong with piling our hair high and bounteous. Okay, let's go ahead and do the push-pull again and cure. There, she's gonna, now you can bump into it. All right, good. Come away. So that's a good-looking spot weld. Let's take this off. And like I said, the higher the spot weld is fine. What we don't want to see is all the spot weld material coming into your infinity edge. That's the mistake that some of them are going to make. So let's keep the spot weld away from the infinity edge. Now these teeth have not been sandblasted, so the composite isn't always going to stick. Just let them know that that's just part of the game. Now I want you to look at how broad that contact is. Imagine if we had a separator on, how tight this contact would be. All right? So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and do the spot weld on the distal, but let's go ahead and have the separator in place. So I'm going to have the separator in the butterfly position with it facing mesially. And these dentiforms are kind of slippery. It almost looks like the wedge came up, the matrix came up a little bit, but I think I'm okay. All right, so let's take a look at the other important aspects of the push-pull instrument. On the distal, now on the mesial, remember that when we did the mesial, to see how the hands collapsed, to see how the hands are going to come together, they auto-adapt. On the mesial, it's a deeper cavity prep on the new model. You see how the hands are a couple millimeters apart here? That's what we want. We want a nice broad contact. Now, on the mesial of this, the hands need to be in a little bit different position to optimize the contact. So if I move the hands up or down, you see the different pressure that we're putting on the matrix. I don't want this parallel to the occlusal plane because I'm going to invert the matrix. I really don't want to do that. So I want to put these hands basically parallel to the contact angle of the neighboring tooth. So let's bring the magnification down and show you that. I want to bring these in parallel to the neighboring tooth. So there's two adjustments that you're going to make with the push-pull. It's up and down with the handle, so we want to go up and down with the handle, and then right left. Watch what happens when I adjust the push-pull right left. When I'm pulling on this, the hands are nice and far apart, which is great. But if I rotate the separator off in that axis, you see how the hands come together? So what we want to have in the larger cavity preparations are these two hands need to straddle the contact of the neighboring tooth. So if you change it this way or you change it this way, the hands come together. So that's not what we want. And then once again, I don't want the handle too low or too high. We want this to be parallel as best we can, or tangential to the neighboring contact. So let's go ahead and lift that up. And so let's go through the process again. We're going to go ahead and do the spot weld, and then ask your doctors, where does the spot weld go? And they're going to go, hopefully, outside, over, and inside the matrix. So happy birthday to you, 20 seconds onto the dentin tubules, and then a little bit of adhesive here, a little bit of adhesive here. It's so important to repeat the exercise until it becomes intuitive to the doctor. Second time around, It's amazing how quick they learn it the second time around. Okay, so we're going to air it thin but not light cure. And then we're going to put the flowable in, and I'll ask them again and again, where does it go? Outside, over, and inside the matrix. And then you say, where do you put it? And then it says, on the corner. Make sure it's on the corner of the matrix, over here, and not in here. Same thing here. Outside, over, and inside the matrix on the corners, like here. Whoa, I almost forgot. It's spotless. It's important to rehearse this. You should rehearse this 3 times before the students come into the room. Okay, now we're going to pull. Once again, the hands need to be, I'm going to turn the filter off. The hands need to be broad, parallel to the contact, and then we're going to, in this case, we're going to be lifting the handle just a little bit. You can use 2 hands to do this, and Daly, please come in and cure. And then lingual. There you go. I'll come out, and then she'll cure the interproximal for 10 seconds. And we're ready to injection mold. A couple other things. Don't forget that they need to be using the go, no-go probe. It is 5 millimeters on both the mesial and distal. Neither one of these need to be layered, because when you slide this in with the matrix in place, what is that telling us? It's 5 millimeters deep. Because we have a clear matrix, there's no need to layer. Now, if it were in the red zone, that would be a no-go. We have to put a little bit of bulk fill flow in the gingival first, cure, and then injection mold. So just remind them of that. We're not going to be doing any layering on the road class, but it's good to bring out the go, no-go probe. And I like to check it with the matrix in place, because that really gives you a better visual reference, because your tooth is gone. So I'm going to take it up, put it against the height of the matrix with the matrix on, and then I'd go ahead and injection mold. That's everything. Thanks for being such an important part of the team. Once you get the video, I'd love to have a phone call with everybody. We can do a group call or individual call. Carry on. Enjoy the Bioclear lightsaber. It's that critical.